We have with us today Chef Ananda Solomon of Vivanta by Taj, a genius in the kitchen and well-renowned all over the country. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could tell us about today's event, the menu.
Thai Pavilion in Gurgaon was set up about a year back and was open for the general public, basically, who came and savored the food for the last 1 year. But before that, there was a lot of things which happened much prior to that, about a year and a half. We were experimenting exactly what is to be done in Delhi, and all this was happening in Bombay, at Thai Pavilion in Mumbai. We had a team of people initially when we trained them. We began the restaurant with 7 people behind the range who were trained into delivering exactly what the first menu was supposed to deliver in Gurgaon, Delhi. Now, having said that, the first year, trust me, the response has been really good. It could have been better, in the sense there were a few challenges which were there in the way, in terms of procuring raw material and stuff like that, which were ironed off for a period of time. And things are looking different today, as far as the journey for this restaurant is concerned. And I'm sure it's just the beginning, and there should be a baby step, which keeps on happening over a period of time, and one baby step at a time. And I think for a period of time, this restaurant should fly the next couple of years.
Chef, you brought the Thai food to center stage in India with the Pavilion setting up. It's been 20 years. If you could give us a small walkthrough.
See, what happened was way back in 90s, the food scenario or the scene or the concept of dining out was totally different. Now, having said that, that was the commercial bit. But from the political angle, the country was not open to imports. It was a little tougher then to make sure that you were getting all the raw materials of the kind which you need. So what happened was, the journey began with me going to Thailand n number of times, or practically living there for a couple of years, to understand exactly what the culture is all about, what do they do, what are the eating habits, what are the festivities, what kind of dishes are made, which part of the year, seasonality and stuff like that. So what we did then was, we had a small farm in Mumbai where we grew this stuff, because since we could not import those things freely, slowly for our benefits and for the people also, basically what happened was, the government norms changed, and it gave you that kind of a bandwidth to import stuff, the way you could. We still have a small farm and which supports us, but not to that level of commercial thing. Earlier days, the ingredients were restricted only to the restaurant. Today, we are also doing banquets, smaller banquets, niche outdoor catering, which the restaurant is doing on a regular basis. And it's taken a while for things to settle down in Mumbai, but all the same, it's one of the popular restaurants in the city.
Okay.
And as of now, we can say that it's popular not only in the city but across the country. That was the second step. The third step, in the last 20 years, it's become like a global phenomena today. It's not only popular in India, it's also popular abroad.
So what are the elements that has made Thai cuisine so popular in India?
See, the cuisine as such, if you really see, is very close to the taste buds or eating style, either which ways. As far as India is concerned, it fits in it just fits in perfect. Like, for example, there are a lot of common ingredients which are there available in Thailand as well as back home here in India. The only thing which is a differentiating factor as far as this cuisine is concerned, which makes it a little more interesting than many other cuisine put together, because here you use many herbs, and there's a balance of these herbs which actually creates that magic in the plate, the way it's supposed to work. Like, for example, there's kaffir lime, the leaf, lemongrass, kha ginger, kashai, then makrut fruit, different kind of spices which are there combined together to make sure that you create a kind of a balance and harmony in the plate. So that's how this cuisine becomes interesting,
Okay, right. What's the extent of customization to the Indian taste bud?
Personally, we have not diluted any recipes, and I don't believe in that, rather. So these are debatable questions and answer sessions which you can have over n number of days. But the fact of the matter happens is, whenever you're getting a dish or you're trying to recreate a dish, you got to make sure that you keep the sanctity of that country and the place of origin from where the dish is coming. That's number one. Number two, maximum what we have done is, we have made it a little easier for you to eat on. Like, for example, if you have a tom yum back home in Thailand, you'll have a lot of herbs and spices floating in that. That's the way it's supposed to be. But here in India, it's a little bit of a drawback when you put your hand in the mouth to remove some herbs which comes in your mouth. Normally in Thailand, people will eat that. Here we are a little averse to those kind of eating habits, so we want to take it off. So what we do back end is we make stock using all those things and strain it off at the time when the things are being served to you. So I think besides that, there's no amount of customization as far as the Indian market is concerned. Yes, every cuisine has different kinds of dishes. Some are spicier than the other, some are bland, and some are medium in nature. So it's not necessarily that you have to dilute the chili levels also, because you got to pick up those dishes, and that can happen only if you have done enough and more work, understanding what that cuisine is all about. That's one of the reasons why it took so long to launch the restaurant way back in 90s.
I guess what you just said relates to the soup of today, where some of the ingredients we as Indians were unable to
Actually, yes.
in the first instance.
But if you really see that those things which actually float in the soup is much more in quantity if you go back in Thailand and have that kind of a tom yum basically. So here we make sure that we add for namesake. It is there. It does the function of flavoring the soup over a period of time, and whereby the richness is still retained, and the subtleness is derived by making sure that it's presented in that manner.
You have done so many restaurants for the Taj, Konkan Cafe being one of them. If you could just tell us, I know it would be hard, but one of the dearest.
I don't know, in fact, as somebody else asked me the similar kind of a question. It will be unfair on my part to say that, a restaurant is more closer to my heart rather than the other. For me, all my three restaurants are very close to my heart. Besides those three restaurants, the Thai Pavilion across the country, wherever they are, in Begumpet or here, I love them basically because I am the person who got the flavor to the country way back in '93. Now, having said that, Indian food is equally important for me, basically because that's comfort food where we all are grown up with. So obviously that also plays a critical role. I have another restaurant of a caliber, of a class, this is a class of its own, Azur, it's a Med restaurant in Yeshwanthpur in Bangalore. Then I have another modern French food, a modern European food restaurant which is there in TR Bangalore, Taj Residence Bangalore, which is called the Grays. That's in a different class by itself. So all these restaurants are quite close to me, basically because it's not only the food, it's also the people whom I have trained, I've worked with, and I really share every moment of those. So if you really ask me a question to choose between the two of the restaurants, it's a little difficult to choose. Having said that, since Thai was the first restaurant which the city of Mumbai gave me to launch, so it's close to my heart.
Well, you being the expert, if you could tell us what's the Thai takeaway, the Thai food consumption in India?
Over a period of time, it's only grown, and I think it will become as popular or not more popular than the Chinese, which is there now in every nook and corner. And the next cuisine which is popular after Chinese is Italian, I think, basically. So I think Thai is on a similar platform there. But there are two Asian cuisine there. One is Chinese, it's Thai, and then you have, another floater in between, Italian, which is there. And all three are on different, though they come from different part, with different characteristics of their own. They have the potential of creating their own niche over a period of time, whereby I think Thai can also become a household name soon. Because Thailand is a country which is so close by, people visit that country so often, and whatever you want, you either get them in proprietary brands, in cans, which becomes easy for you to use at home.
Out of all the dishes you have created, if you could give us three names, your favorite.
Tom yum is a soup which I really love, by every standard, if it is made perfectly. There are some skill sets which you need to get them right. That's one of the reasons why I love that dish. The second is the steamed fish, which is very subtle. I'm sure you must have liked that too. And which is served with morning glory, that green which comes with that. And the staple part is, I personally prefer the green curry over many other curries, basically because of its robustness and the velvety finish which it has, and that aroma with that curry which goes well with the jasmine rice actually. And of course the dessert, the tartan crop, which is the water chestnut with coconut milk.
Finally, can you share an easy Thai recipe for our viewers?
See, I can actually mail it to you basically because I don't think so I'll be in a position to give it on air because there are 2-3 steps in this. So there's one very common dish basically which otherwise the paste has to be described, what quantity and stuff like that. Very easily you can do a pad thai noodle, which is very commonly spoken about, whereby you just stir fry the onions initially to begin with very little oil. You combine the sugar, lemon juice and the chili powder together to get that sweet, sour and spicy flavor. Add in any vegetables or any meat you think which is appropriate. If you're adding meat, you can actually combine that with the fish sauce. If you're adding vegetables, you would use dark soya a little bit to make sure that you get that balance correct. Add the noodles which is soaked for about a couple of hours earlier and mix it up with peanuts and the sprouts and the spring onions.
All right.
That's the pad thai.
One last question here. The food in its entirety is very subtle and it's very soothing. Is this similar to your personality? In some way, do you relate to the food you cooked yourself?
If you really ask me, if you food per se, anger doesn't come out in that.
Right.
This kind of cuisine. French food will not make you angry because if you believe in what you are is what you eat. What you eat is what you turn out to be. If you see in Thailand, they'll hardly raise the voice and speak. So it goes with the food and the place where they come from. And that's the only country which was never ruled by any other person. It was always a kingdom. And if you see in Thailand, they'll never shout and talk. You'll have so many of them under one umbrella, but it'll be quite different. It's something like the Japanese. You'll never hear Japanese shouting and talking over the top of the voice. So I think it's the kind of food what they handle and what they deal with makes you what you are, ultimately end of the day.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.